Kim Churchill. So he is quite a sensation. He is a young artist from Australia, and Canada is almost his second home. I'm going to put this film clip up on the blog. So this is the clip to the single Seasons Grind from his album called Detail of Distance, and he's spent so much time in Canada. It's a really cool clip, actually. It's filmed here in BC, in Vancouver Island, and it's like Kim kind of driving around in a van, Kim hanging out at the beach, maybe Tofino or something, Kim surfing in what looks like really cold water. Kim. So this is Kim Churchill. I'll tell you a little bit about him. He is quite an astounding talent. He's only about 20 years of age, and picked up the guitar at 4 years old or something like that. Had very supportive parents, and he grew up kind of in he was roots kind of singing very, very young, and he's got this really interesting kind of finger-picking style, and he's basically this whole band in a man, I guess. If you see him play live, like he's a solo artist, and he doesn't really need a band behind him. He's got so much energy, and he's an incredibly proficient guitarist for someone so young. So his debut album was called With Sword and Shield, and he's toured Canada at least twice, as far as I know, and I interviewed him last year. So that song you heard there was the single from his latest release. So now the first part of my interview, this was backstage at the recent gig here in Vancouver. Kim is now off somewhere further out east, Ottawa, I believe, or close thereby. Anyway, let's listen to Kim Churchill, a young artist, blues, I guess you call him a blues roots rock solo performer. So Kim, here we are, the Fortune Sound Club. It was maybe about a year ago we last chatted in the media club.
Yes.
Here in Vancouver. And wow, I mean, can you kind of sum up what's happened since? Like a lot of shows, a lot of touring in the last year?
Yeah. Heaps and heaps and heaps of gigs. It's in general, the roller coaster ride has continued, and I've toured Canada twice since then again.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I should say, this tour is the second since then.
Yeah.
I recorded a new album, which is kind of what we're promoting on this tour, and so I spent a bit of time in Australia, kind of in the sun, just surfing and getting all the songs ready and kind of preparing myself, and then we did a few shows in Australia and flew over here in February and set to work on the album.
Yeah, and it was recorded here in Vancouver. I just want to go back a little bit in time, though. I saw up on the merch desk some kind of EP from Montreal.
What's
with that? Like,
it's kind of a little, what would you call it? Like, I guess a kind of cottage industry product. I'm thinking, like, we made 500, and I sort of just put a thing out on Facebook saying the room was half the size, quarter of the size, and it was just an attic space at a friend's house, and just hung some microphones from the roof and told anybody who wanted to come down to this attic that this is the address, come along, and maybe we had a big reaction, actually, maybe about 100 people or something, so we ended up doing a couple of shows that night.
Oh, wow.
Scheduling it a bit, and just recorded acoustically, totally acoustically, and sort of took the show and put it on a disc and made 500 copies, and that'll be that.
That's neat.
Kind of, so I guess it's like if you've got a little sort of shop somewhere and you make a kind of certain bar of soap for a couple of weeks, and people can buy it, and it's out there, and when there's none left, that'll be that. And
a rarity. And Bob Dylan had the basement tapes, and Kim Churchill had the attic tapes. It's
It's cool.
Amazing spontaneity. Like, I mean, I was just wondering how the songwriting process works for you now, because you are constantly pretty much on the go. I mean,
it's really actually helped it to grow, the traveling.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I can't help but notice as I travel around that the songs I'm writing sort of are reflective of the sort of aesthetic of the place I'm in. So in a sense, the more I travel, the more different flavors will be added to my songs as I'm writing them, and so it in a way is a part of the fuel. It's part of the whole procedure. And I mean, also traveling puts you in different places every day, and gives you different experiences, and you meet different people, and all of this kind of variety and this sort of sporadic nature in which everything happens allows you to be very open, and within that, being open, I think, is one of the keys to writing songs, because if you sort of if you have a really closed mind, I think it's very hard to you can't write a song based on logic. You can learn the tools. Exactly, yes. You can use tools, but they're only tools. Indeed, because you referred to this on stage tonight. A song you wrote specifically, listening to people and realizing you have to be open-minded in the first instance to take it all in, then judge it second. Yeah, I mean, if you don't believe them as they're saying it, then there's no point in listening. Yeah, the integrity of the conversation isn't really... Yeah. And I mean, so I did definitely get myself in... With that theory, you get yourself in some weird situations. And sometimes people take advantage of it. They can see that you're believing them, and that fuels their own creativity, and they're just telling you complete and utter rubbish. But at the same time, I think it's all brilliant food for the imagination. Yeah, completely.
And here we are on CiTR 101.9 FM and Stranded, the Australian-Canadian music show. And we're talking with Kim Churchill. I had a chat with him backstage at Fortune Sound Club about a week back. He is on another tour through Canada. So Kim Churchill is quite an astounding solo performer from Australia, very young, in his early 20s. Basically, Todd Simcoe was a local producer here in Vancouver who tragically passed away only a matter of months ago. It was big news in the city. He was much loved by a lot of people. I knew him myself. Through certain connection, I got to know him, and Todd produced Kim's album. So that's kind of how I got to know Kim as well, because this has become sort of like a second home for Kim, this part of the world. So Kim was actually one of Todd's very last, if not the last, recording project. So there was a memorial for Todd just a week or so back on a weekend down in Kitsilano at a church, and so Kim was invited along, and he got up on stage and played that song that we just heard, Sarah. Yeah, this is the second part of my interview with Kim Churchill, where I asked him about his reflections on working with Todd Simcoe, the Vancouver music producer who sadly just passed away.
And then bringing it back here to Vancouver, and on a solemn note, I saw you just a couple of days ago at the memorial for Todd Simcoe. It was extraordinarily moving. So Todd was we've spoken about Todd on the show before, a long-term successful music producer here. Would you be able to reflect on your interactions with getting to know Todd over the months or so?
Yeah. We were introduced through my manager Frank, and he actually mixed. The first time I talked to him was when he mixed the Attic recordings for me, and he sort of called me up and kind of let me know that his dad had passed away recently, and that he was particularly moved by the music. It had really helped him, helped him progress through his feelings.
Really?
And I could just notice the passion within him for what I was doing, and I knew little about his production techniques or what kind of a producer he was, but at the end of the day, I just knew when we talked, we were comfortable talking, and I knew that he was passionate about it. And, I really don't know how I would choose a producer other than to choose somebody that was passionate about it. So he fit the description, and we started sort of preparing, and it was an interesting time. I was saying at the funeral, it was an interesting time because we were just talking on Skype, and I think both of us had really radical ideas of what we wanted to do, and we were both incredibly passionate about what we wanted to create. And his ideas were very different to my ideas. And what was beautiful about the way the sort of relationship blossomed and how we got along was that we sort of began to acknowledge the other one's craziness, I guess, and kind of feed off it. And so Todd would be like, oh my God, let's do this. I've got this thing called a fun machine. It's like a kid's keyboard and it sounds great. And then I'm like, oh my God, let's layer more vocals. Frank would laugh because he'd come in and we would have just taken a song to like another planet. It would just be out there. And so we kind of run off each other's crazy ideas. And instead of at the beginning where I'd be like, what do you mean? What do you want to do that? And I would say something, he'd be like, how is that ever going to work? And we kind of learnt to trust the other one's kind of ridiculous sort of way of doing things.
Yeah. Again, it comes to that open-mindedness. It's like, well, why not?
Yep.
You know, you can always censor afterwards, or you know, mix, produce. Yeah.
I think Todd really led the way as well. He showed me how in the studio, between artist and producer, there's an element of compromise and understanding. You have to have, I think, the maturity to accept that you're not the only one in the world that could do the right thing by the song. You know, that there's a lot of good things that could be done. And that, you know, other people's ideas, even if they contradict what you want to do, the final product can be something brilliant that you had no idea could have been made. You know, I mean, I learned, because I'd never worked with a producer before this. I learned how to allow somebody in, you know, how to let somebody in and be a part of the whole creative process. I mean, as a solo performer, I've never really...
Yeah, true. So like, it seems like, just reflecting on Todd, of what I knew of him, just this incredible creativity, but the humility, because that's exactly what's coming through, is that is the humility that says, well, there are many ways, you know, no matter how talented he was and expert at his craft, very successful here in the city. It sounds like it was a great match, and I'm sure you're proud to have been one of his last artists.
It's quite a, you know, it's a moving, motivating position to be in, where you own kind of the last, you know, record that he made. And for me, that was, you know, I mean, if you're only really as good as your last game, and if that was his last game, I mean, on a production level, I think the record's brilliant. What he did was brilliant, and it gives me the drive to really get it out there, to sell as many copies as I can and to deliver it to as many people as I can, because that is, you know, that is what he was doing, and what and kind of one of the most recent, I guess, musical pictures of him. I'm very proud to be the one that's sharing it with the world. That's right, and we'll be sharing it with the world here on the show. Kim Churchill, thanks so much for checking in. And wow, this is only the first date, right, of this current tour? Yeah. Bring it on. And energy, I got to say, the first time I saw you at the Media Club, I was just like, just trying to put into words for myself, the energy that you put out. You don't need a band. Like, I mean, like, have you ever... well, I guess you do have at the start of the show, you have a string quartet in the background. Well, this is the first time that we tried that tonight. Ever? Well, yeah. Wow, jeez. Yeah, we ran through the song. We ran through both songs twice at soundcheck, and that was the first time we'd ever played. Jeez. Because we couldn't arrange a time. I had to get the tracks down in the studio before they could come in and play. So that we didn't play together at the same time in the studio. It was overdubs that they did. So tonight was the very first time we've ever tried it. And are they going on the road with you, or is it just local? No, I can't afford it. Yeah. I'd love to. I would at the drop of the hat. Yeah. I mean, I need to work on my material. I'm very inspired to write things that cater more to the quartet now. Yeah. I think all in good time. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can see that. I'm too far gone and lost from you. There were so many nights I longed to sing your song, and now I'm through. Thank you very much.